Okay, hi everybody, and welcome to another installment of Ozzy and Keats. We're not great, we're just okay. John Keating here at the Oddside Ales Tap Room in Grand Haven, where I now reside. Chris Osgood in his estate in suburban Detroit, and we're brought to you through the helpful hands of Podcast Nation in Troy, Michigan. We're very excited because Ozzy's former teammate, and beyond that, more importantly, Ozzy's former roommate, Kris Draper, will join us to talk about what used to be in their lives and what is going to be in our lives as we get set to take in the Red Wings season. And as we record this, Ozzy, the Wings season is underway. What are your expectations for the year?
Mine, I would say to make the playoffs. If I was, we following closely from what I've seen so far. They got some really good young players. Hopefully, Drapes will discuss that. But I feel like now is the time. I mean, I feel like Larkin and Raymond and their core guys are ready for that next step. So hopefully they can. There'll be nothing better. And I wish it would have happened when you and I were down there to have a home playoff game. We always spoke of that, you and I. So hopefully this year is the year, though. But we would miss you. By that point, though, it would be like what, April? I don't think we'll miss you by that point. I think by then it will be long gone.
No, of course you won't. No, of course you no. Nor will I miss you. Is now I might be 4 ginger ales deep by the time the post game show.
You can come down like as like a special guest.
No.
It's like when those sitcoms and they bring on a special guest every now and then. You read the TV guide, like,
and everybody claps when they walk into the scene. That kind of a thing.
You'd be like the Bruce Willis or Tom Selleck of Friends. That's who you could be. Like, you just kind of fill up every time, big as life.
Just kind of wander onto the set and who's that guy? Who's that? Didn't he used to be somebody? No. But I will ask you this in real life terms. Your world is going to change dramatically because the FanDuel's world has changed. There is not the studio for road games. There's going to be more travel for you. How much are you ready to embrace the new you?
Not at all. I've been traveling my whole life. I used to love traveling, going to place. I don't love the travel as much.
About it all the time. You bitch about it all the time.
I know, and let's be honest. The travel is cushy. You're on that beautiful plane. You're with your friends, so it's very easy. It's not like you're going to a metropolitan airport anywhere in the U.S. So it's very easy. But I'm a homebody. I like being at home now. I traveled my whole life since I was really 16, traveling buses in Western Hockey League. So I enjoy being at home. I have aspirations to be like you, just kind of nestle into Grand Haven and not leave the deck and have that little fridge that's somewhere hidden somewhere that your wife doesn't know about. But I guess I'm ready for it. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not. I like going to Western Canada because that's where I grew up. I like going. That's my favorite trip. I didn't get a chance to go on it last year, so I am going this year. So I am looking forward to that. So that's one of them I am. But do I like being in New Jersey and Long Island and near Thanksgiving? Probably not. I mean, to be honest with you. So, but you do what you got to do. So.
Well, yeah, and I think and sometimes viewers and fans of the team, I guess need to remember that sometimes is that there are sacrifices made not just by the players but those around the team because you're the Wednesday before Thanksgiving you're flying home and you're not getting back to Detroit sometimes until 2 a.m, and then it's a drive out of the airport and then up and at them early the next day.
I think as you get older, you don't want to miss anything, right? Because then you realize how, and it is this weird. Like when you're younger, if you go on like a week vacation, your friends are like, "Where were you? You're gone forever. Where were you?" Now you're like a week goes by, like in a blink. Time goes by fast, so you don't want to miss those anymore. You don't want to miss the Thanksgiving.
And especially as the kids get older, and family, as we've said 1,000 times here, is everything. So. Beyond the pop machine being put in front of your hotel room door, do you have a great hotel story from your traveling days? I mean, one that was either like, I can't believe how opulent, how spectacular this hotel is, or I can't believe what a dump I'm in as I'm trying to get from here to there.
I mean,
What's the best hotel? What's the best hotel room you ever stayed in?
I like the hotels in the when I'm in Western Canada because I grew up out there and I like going to Calgary and I am a hotel snob. I like a good hotel, but I like more where I'm at. I love going to Calgary. It used to be right downtown there. Everybody complained about Edmonton, but I grew up there, so I enjoy staying there no matter what because, as you know, a little place after a movie character, Sherlock Holmes, was a couple lefts away for you. And it's got a bar in Edmonton, a little pub, which has the best soup, and it does, and
The
little
best
appetizer.
soup.
and I like going to Vancouver. Vancouver's great, but I would say my favorite hotel was I like those places because of where I'm at. Is the Lowe's in Santa Monica. We'd go there because back when I played, you'd stay there the whole time. You'd play you fly San Jose for the back LA, and now when they play games, these guys, it's 3 games in 4 nights. There's no time really to stay or do anything. Back then, you'd play game day off, play game day off. You'd be out there longer. So I used to love staying there. We'd go and play paintball. We'd play like beach football. I remember we played a game of beach football once with the Wings. Paul Coffey was on the team, so if everybody knows that era. And we were playing the LA Kings with Wayne Gretzky, who was there with the R.E. Curry and all the old guys, and they weren't great. They weren't very good. We got beat 5-1 because nobody could move because they're so stiff from running on the beach the day before.
Oh my God!
The guys were not happy. But that would have been my favorite hotel. Would have been the Lowe's in Santa Monica.
Okay, let's step aside and we'll bring in your former teammate, your former roommate, Kris Draper on Ozzy and Keats. All right, there he is, the lovely and talented Kris Draper, now a member of the Red Wings front office and a longtime member of the Red Wings, former Stanley Cup champ. As we begin, it's great to see you, first of all. As we begin, the fact that you survived being Chris Osgood's roommate, aside from being his teammate, should put you in the Human Hall of Fame, I would think. What were those days like for you?
Definitely elite category. There's no doubt about that. I'll tell you probably how the whole roommate situation started. It's actually a pretty fun story. As probably a lot of people wouldn't know, Ozzy was shy and actually uncomfortably quiet back
those
when
were
I
the
met
days. Those were the
Exactly.
days.
Yeah. You wouldn't know those days, John. So
no.
Anyways, I got called up. Ozzy and I had a little bit of a stint together in Adirondack with the Red Wings. And then Ozzy ended up getting called up probably first couple weeks into the season with Ozzy. I believe Chevy and Vinny went down.
Yeah, Randall got hurt. So did Chevy.
Yeah, so both goalies went down, and Ozzy ended up getting a call. So we kind of had a little bit of a teammate / friendship, early down in Adirondack. And then I got called up January 23rd, 1994. My first game was January 24th, 1994. And I just so happened that the only stall left in the dressing room at the Joe was another goalie stall. So sure enough, I got thrown into the goalie stall, and Ozzy was kind of my stallmate and whatever. So I was, got called up, kind of nervous, obviously, getting called up, to the Detroit Red Wings, with Steve Yzerman, Sergei Fedorov, Nick Lidstrom, Paul Coffey, go around the room of all the guys that were there. And so obviously very intimidated. And more importantly, I wanted to stay. And so whatever. So we kind of had when I say small talk, it was like one answer small talk. So anyways, it kind of goes along. And so I ended up having a night out at one of our establishments called the Post Bar. And I had probably been there for, it was probably almost 2 months. And when I say I was routine orientated, because I didn't want to get sent back to Adirondack. So, I was staying at the old classic Pontchartrain Hotel. And literally it was the same thing I did day in and day out every day I was in Detroit. I walked to the Joe the same way. I walked back the same way. I ate the same meal. I did not want to go back to Adirondack. So anyway, so I ended up having a night out. It was a Saturday night. It was fun. Finally was able to kind of blow off a little bit of steam. Anyways, the next day it was a day off, but I wanted to go to the rink, just sauna and all this stuff. And it happened that Ozzy was down there as well. So I kind of went in and probably didn't look that sharp on a Sunday morning, but thought I'd sweat it out and watch some football. And Ozzy kind of looked at me and he was like, "Did you go out last night?" And I was like, "I did." He's like, "Where'd you go?" And I said, "I went to the Post Bar." He goes, Was it fun? Did you have fun?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Do you want to be my roommate? Want to live with me?" So all it took was me going out one night, kind of being a little hungover, and Ozzy's like, "I think I like this guy," and the rest was history. That's how the roommate friendship was elevated to a next level.
Yep. Right to the riverfront apartments, John.
Right to no, first remember we were at Greenfield Village in Farmington.
Yeah,
that was the first place that you had. So sure enough, I was told within that week to go get a place, and the timing was perfect. And Ozzy picked me up at the Paunch and packed up my luggage, and off we went to Farmington Hills. So we lived there the rest of that year, and then I think we spend 2 or 3 years at Riverfront.
2 or 3 at Riverfront. Which is great.
Yeah. So that was there was some pure entertainment there, John. I can tell you that much.
John, we played a golf hole out in our room. Drapes thought it would be a good idea to try and drive a golf ball in the Detroit River from our living room over the deck and outside and through. It didn't make it over the deck.
So it was the Riverfront had glass balcony, and so we opened up the sliding door, and Ozzy teed the ball up. Believe it or not, it was on like a handful of Cheerios, because obviously we couldn't have a tee, so he teed it up, and I'm like thinking I'm gonna just launch this thing from the 18th floor of the Riverfront Apartments right into the Detroit River.
This is a good idea.
Yeah, it sounded like a great idea at the time. So sure enough, he tees it up. I'm a lefty. I stand there and I just launched this thing. And I'm telling it literally went right through the glass balcony. And then all of a sudden there was we looked at each other and you could see the ball go through it. And then next thing you know, the delayed reaction of the glass just shattered. And we just looked at each other and we thought we'd explain it maybe like a bird flew into it or something like that. We kind of had our excuse and all that. So there was some the best parts were, so Ozzy had gotten the apartment, and so everything was in Ozzy's name. So basically the beginning of the month, I would just, give Ozzy cash for whatever, for rents, for furniture, whatever it was. So this worked out fine. No problem while we were all here. But all of a sudden, come, say it was May or June when Ozzy went back home out west and I headed east to go back to Toronto. Well, we didn't I don't even know if there was auto pay back then, but we didn't pay any bills, so for all of June, July, and August, there was nothing being paid. And we came back and every year we had all these pink stickers down our door, basically eviction notices that were out because we hadn't paid. And I go, Oz, did you not post date checks for all this stuff? And he looked at me, he's like, "Well, how do you do that?" I'm like, "You don't know how to post date a check?" And we had to go back to the front office and kind of talk ourselves out of getting evicted. And sure enough, they kept us for another year. So we ended up doing that for about 3 years.
He tells the story of to cut right to it, maggots in the microwave when you guys came back. Do you know that story?
I do. Yeah, I can actually tell you. I actually told that story the other day. So we came home as the end of the year, and obviously it's so kind of probably controlled chaos at the end of the year would probably be the best way to describe it. And sure enough, we came home one night and my mom had made this casserole. And so I told Ozzy, I said, "Well, we'll heat it up in the microwave and we'll eat it." And sure enough, I throw it in the microwave, I heat it up and all that. And for whatever reason, I don't know if we went to bed. I don't know what happened. Well, we got distracted with the food. And then, so we never ate at home. So it's not like we were looking to go in the microwave. So sure enough, we ended up packing up and going home for the summer. And a couple months later, we came back and we couldn't figure out what is that? We're kind of looking all around, garbage, like checking everything and all this. And all of a sudden, Ozzy opened up the microwave, and it was just like, oh my God.
There
He
for
slammed
about
that
3
door
months.
so fast. We
2 or
called
3 months.
maintenance. They literally, we just told them, guys, take the whole microwave out. Don't even open it. Take the whole microwave out. Whatever it costs, we need a new one. Yeah.
Oh,
I'll get Ozzy in here, and we'll get to the point where we're actually talking some hockey. But I've heard the two of you tell the story, speaking of the Post, about a night that Kris Draper did not go out and yet got blamed in that he was probably out anyway by Scotty Bowman. Ozzy, why don't you start the story, and Drapes will have his take on it.
Drapes was playing the next day, right? An exhibition. I wasn't playing. Asenza and Jamie Pusher and Anders Eriksson weren't playing. Drapes was playing. So we went out and to the Post, just played pool. It wasn't busy at all. And
Just played pool.
Drapes kind of said to us, he didn't feel good about it. He thought, and he was actually the voice of reason, telling us not to. And he wasn't going to. He's going to stay at home. The game's tomorrow, exhibition, all the rest of it. And anyways, Scotty Bowman ended up showing up at the Post and catching us all. Now Drapes can take over from there.
Yeah. So true story right there. I was playing. So Ozzy would play in preseason. He'd play half games. Like that was it. He would go in, play a half game. And back then, I still had the mindset I had to make this team, like getting comfortable around Scotty was something that, I wasn't going to do. And I knew I always was going to be playing a lot of preseason games. And so I was like, you know what, Oz, I'm out tonight. And of course, Ozzy, being such a great friend, didn't really support it. He was mad at me, like he was mad. Go with
Let's
him.
go.
And he's exactly just like that, And I'm like, Ozzy, I'm not doing it tonight.
We're having a
I'm staying
9-ball
home.
tournament.
What's that?
We're playing a 9-ball tournament. Remember, is that what it's called? 9-ball?
I was staying home that night. So anyways, all of a sudden I'm lying on the sofa, just kind of, waiting and for Oz to come home, just kind of watching TV, whatever it was. And all of a sudden Ozzy comes in and he's just like, why? And I'm like, I go, what? He's like, I've seen it all now. I've seen it all. And he's like, well, guess who came to the Post? And I'm like, who? Like this. And so he goes, Scotty came in. Scotty Bowman came in, and he's sitting there and he's describing. He goes, we're playing pool. It's a harmless night, but it was past curfew. We did have an 11 o'clock curfew, and Scotty came in past it was probably 11:01 or whatever. And sure enough, he sees Anders Eriksson, Jamie Pusher, and Ozzy. They're sitting there double fisting, having a great night. And Ozzy just comes in. He's like, why didn't I listen to you? Why didn't I listen to you? So anyway, so I was so proud. Okay. So the next morning, we come into the rink and so I come into the rink all proud and all this stuff. And all of a sudden our trainer, Timmy Abbott, comes up to me and he's like, Scotty wants to see you. Like, I look at Ozzy, he just starts laughing just like that, So sure enough, I go into his office. It's Scotty, it's Barry Smith, and it's Dave Lewis. And so I guess Scotty called Barry right away and left him a message. And he goes, Barry, 3 men down. 3 men down. I know there was a 4th. I didn't see him, but I know he was there. Draper was there too, right? So Barry's explaining, like he's crying, laughing. Like
Barry Smith, the assistant coach at the time. Go ahead.
Exactly. But the best was 3 men down, and there was a 4th. I didn't see him. So anyway, so I'm like, I go, Scotty, I wasn't there. And then Scotty, like, without any hesitation, Barry, he's a liar. Draper's a liar. I know he was there. If Osgood was there, Draper was there. If Draper's there, Osgood's there. They're always together like this. And he goes, okay, go like this. And I'm kind of like, I looked at Barry and Louie because I knew I wasn't going to convince Scotty. I'm like, guys, I was not out last night. I'm here to tell you. Like this, so whatever. So I walk out like this. And I'm kind of like, I'm shaking my head. I'm like, man, I did the right thing. I'm playing tonight. I'm trying to get this season off to a good start, fresh start, new relationship, and all this. And sure enough, I walk in. Ozzy's like, what'd he say? So I told him, and there's the laugh right there. He just starts, and Ozzy just looked at me, should have came. You should have came. And I'm like, you know what? I probably should have. So, like, honestly, like Scotty, like to that day, he is convinced that I was out at the post that night with those guys.
And how much do you enjoy that, Ozzy, that even though he wasn't there, he is being lumped in with you for
Always.
Yeah.
The thing with Drapes is he always took the brunt of my mistakes. For some reason, I could be in practice hiding behind my mask as Sandy and net, and he'd always take the brunt of whatever we were in trouble for. Not in trouble, but kind of Scotty would be honest because you were younger. He kind of made sure he knew what we were doing at all times. So it was always Drapes that took the brunt of it, which I did love. Drapes, I love the story when you and Mulch, I was in net and Andrew Chuck scored a beautiful tip.
Oh, yeah.
Goal. And the next season,
Yep.
he called you and Mulch in. He was still mad about that goal the year before.
Yeah, you made the save, and Andrew Chuck bats the puck out of the air. Like that's mine and Maltz's fault. So this is the way this one goes. So we're playing Colorado. Was that 99, Oz?
Yeah, 99.
So I think it was I think it was in 1999, and so sure enough, we're playing the Colorado Avalanche, which as we all know, the emotions always run high and pure hatred in those playoff series especially. And so sure enough, we end up losing to them. But the summer goes on, and we come back, and literally, like Scott, the team had just been picked. It was day one of the regular season, and so Scotty comes into the dressing room and addresses the team and basically says, you know what, disappointing how things ended up. New team, new year. He basically looks all around the room. It's a fresh start. We got to be ready to go. It's a fresh start. So we're kind of like sitting there. This is great and all this stuff. So sure enough, Tim Abbott, our trainer, comes and Draper, Maltby, Scotty wants to see you in his office. So we go into, so this time we're just in Scotty's office. It's Scotty and Maltz, and he's just kind of sitting there. And so anyways, so he's like, he goes, guys, sit down. So anyways, so we go sit down, and he goes, and now, mind you, we've done all of training camp. We probably had 3.5, 4 weeks of training camp. And Scotty's just like, he goes, how was your summer? And as good summer, and obviously disappointing the way it ended. Trained hard, and like we're looking forward to going. I'm also like, yeah, feel the same way, Scotty. He goes, well, I'm glad you guys had a good summer. He goes, you two ruined my summer. You guys ruined my summer. He goes, I thought about it every single day, and it's you two ruined my summer. And we're like, how? He goes, do you remember the Anderchuk goal? Maltz, you remember like the puck comes around the wall and you didn't get the puck out, and Draper, you're supposed to be net front and you don't have anyone tied up and you're standing right there. And Ozzy makes the save and Anderchuk scores. And I'm kind of like, we're not going to win this argument, right? We already ruined his summer. So we're just sitting there taking it. So, we just kind of like, oh man, like sorry, Scotty. Like we have to be better. We have to be better. Meanwhile, I'm thinking so much for that fresh start. Like that lasted like 15 seconds for Maltz and I. And then, Scotty's just like, he goes, all right, get out of here. Get out of here. I've seen enough of you too. So anyway, so we get up and Maltz is like, he goes, well, that's a good fresh start. So I looked at Maltz, I go, is he talking about the goal where Ozzy made the save and the puck comes off his body and Anderchuk literally like bats this thing out of the air and that's our fault? And Maltz like, yeah, I think that's the one he's talking to. So that was another one. Thanks, Oz. Appreciate that.
Man. For each of you, if you had to describe Scotty Bowman, how would you? Ozzy, I'll start with you. How to people who might not have been, in that inner circle. How do you describe what Scotty Bowman was?
I'll start with, I love playing for him. I'll start with that. He was attention to detail, and just from the stories that are being told, he remembered everything. To me, he was the best bench coach ever, and I got a chance to see it sitting there sometimes, watching. You pay attention to everything he's doing. But to me, he'd be hard on me. If not for playing for him, I don't think I would have as long a career. I mean, there's many stories you could tell about different situations and different things he would say to you. Did you like everything he said? Oh, of course he didn't. But always, attention to detail. I remember I was playing a game in L.A., in Anaheim, in that little rink in the little dressing room drapes, and he came in and we beat Anaheim. They were very good, like 5-1. They scored late. And he berated me in my stall after because I gave up 1 goal in the last minute. Because if I let in that goal then, I'm going to let that in at the worst time, which was the playoffs. So he'd always tell me no goals the first minute or last minute ever. He did not like that at all. And he'd ingrain stuff in you that would make playing in pressure situations easy. So that was kind of his teaching. So, I mean, I love playing for him. A lot of fun, a lot of great stories with Scotty for sure, but I have utmost respect for the guy.
Right?
Yeah, I exactly what Ozzy said. I mean, Scotty was incredible to play for. I mean, you were playing for, he was just ahead of his time. Like he was a numbers guy when numbers weren't, really important back then. The way he ran his bench, the matchups that he got were absolutely incredible. He was always seemed to be 1 or 2 steps ahead. As always, I remember the one thing, he kept, Scotty was like, he wanted his matchups, but he also realized for the most part, the easiest matchup that he could get or the easiest to get would be, his defense. Cause obviously they could, especially in the first and third period, about getting guys on and off the ice. So he would be more concerned about who he wanted on defense against the lines that he wanted to match up. And then from there, depending on who he wanted, it would be, get the line out at that time. So he was absolutely incredible with that. And the one thing, it was, there was a lot of days that, were, I knew I was uncomfortable, and with that, I knew every day I came to the rink, I had to work hard. I had to prepare. I had to be ready to go for the games. And there were some nights where, I wasn't going to play. And obviously that, pisses you off. You want to play every single game, but there was always something behind that with Scotty, but he was incredible to play for. And probably, the greatest thing that I know that I was able to be a part of was in 2002 when Scotty retired after he won the Stanley Cup, and he came up, and basically, like was thanking all of us and saying that's his last game that he ever coached, and thanking us for winning that cup and letting him go out on top, and then seeing him carry the cup, was something that was incredible. So for us to be, that 02 team, to be able to be a part of that and let the greatest coach and the winningest coach of all time to go out on top as a Stanley Cup champion is something that, all of us were real proud of. But he was incredible to play for. It was challenging. The stories are incredible. Like the amount of stuff,
I mean,
and laughs and memories
like
that he gave us, and just to be able to play from him, for me from, 93, 94 to when we won the cup in 02, basically I knew if I could play for Scotty, I could play for any coach in the game of hockey. And he created that mindset for me, that mental toughness that you needed, and back then, and, in the mid 90s, there wasn't no one talked about that, the mentality of being able to play and going to play. And trust me, there was a lot of challenges day in and day out, but it made me, a better hockey player and more importantly, a better person as well.
Drapes, there were 2 things. Never get behind Scotty on a golf course, because he was okay golfer, but he'd get frustrated and mad. You can hear him swear from behind. Or get behind him while you're driving down the highway. Remember that time we were driving and we're yelling at that guy in front? We're driving late on the lodge.
Go to the airport.
We're like, get out of the way. We're waving like
he's sitting in the I do a lot of driving now with Scouty all over the world. And one of my biggest pet peeves, that left lane, that's the fast lane. That's supposed to be when you want to pass somebody, you come out, you go, that should be cleared. Well, it doesn't always happen like that in Michigan. And the one day we were going to the airport, we thought we were kind of late. We're behind this guy and literally down the lodge. This guy's probably doing like 40 miles an hour on the lodge. We're like, I'm like, Ozzy, flash him. Flash this person, and we're like, I got my head out the window, get out of the way, and we're kind of yelling at this guy. So sure enough, Ozzy finally gets to move and he gets to go out and make a pass in the middle lane to pass him. And we're looking at this guy and we're like yelling at him and everything. And all of a sudden we're like, that's Scotty.
Scotty. We're like ducking in the car.
And just to put a bow on the Post story, as it was told to me, the people in the Post, maybe some female people accompanying Anders Ericsson might have thought that Scotty Bowman was Ozzy's grandfather. Was that the story? That
Well, here's the thing, John. I can't comment on that.
I
'cause
know
I
you
wasn't
can't.
there.
I know.
I wasn't there, so I'm going to stick to my story right now. I was not there.
It wasn't good all around. The DJ or whoever's on the microphone tried to announce, and Scotty Bowman's in the house. It was too quick.
Oh man,
He moves quick. Like, he got back there in a
Oh,
hurry,
yeah.
and the people spread. Nobody wanted any part of him, and we were
Oh,
just kind of
man.
stuck in the back, and we took it. And we took it because we knew we were in the
Yeah,
wrong.
so did I. So did I.
And
Yeah,
you took
did.
the brunt
You
of
had to
it.
wear it. Yeah, you had to wear it.
I really didn't get anything said to me at all. I was in the clear right from the onset. It was
man.
Anders
All right.
Ericsson. It was Drapes first, Ericsson second.
Yeah, that
All
was
right,
it.
you touched upon how intense the rivalry was with Colorado, and I'll ask this because you two have both gone on to find careers after your playing days. Do you have any relationship with Claude Lemieux these days?
I do not. No.
They haven't had to deal with him as an agent or anything like
No,
that.
I sat in on some conversation with Steve with Moritz Seider's contract, but it was more or less just, kind of, still, that part of the, that side of the game and that side of the business, still learning and being able to sit in. So I was just able to sit in and listen, but I haven't had any, one-on-one or any interactions like that with Lemieux and, on this side. I'm sure, well, I'm hoping one day I will and will have to, because obviously that means I'm in a pretty good position if, to be able to start doing NHL contracts. But, right now I have not.
All right, and you touched upon going all over the world. And we asked Mike Tirico this question. First of all, what's your Delta status?
What am I? Diamond, Platinum, Elite?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, so you walk up and you tell them when it's time to go, I would think, right? You got that kind of power over Delta?
Not quite that type, but I got some, I do have some pretty good status with Delta. And you know what? Even the people at TSA and Clear and Pre-Check, it's like, when they're like, hey, Chris, how you doing today? Where are you off to? We have good conversations about all that. So, all those people, they take real good care of me, certainly at Detroit Airport. And I will say this, out of all the airports that I've seen around the world, Detroit Metro is an incredible airport.
Yeah.
Like, huge fan of that. Yeah.
Explain to people, like, I always say, like, Drapes is the assistant GM and runs the draft for the Wings. What is that draft table like? I know you did it virtual last year, but the pressure is and what goes through as your picks coming up, like what your planning is at the draft table.
Yeah. Honestly, Oz, like, the pressure, the work is all done.
Yep.
Like, we have put, put all the work in before the draft is there. We have our list, dialed in pretty well, right. Probably a week before we get into the draft, kind of have it set up how we want to do it. It's an exciting day for us. You think of, all the rinks, the airports, traveling and everything, and kind of coming to the draft. And, sometimes obviously it gets a little, I don't want to say discouraging, but you sit there and you've watched a lot of great hockey players play, and where we pick, you're not going to have a chance at getting some of these guys, but with us, we just kind of sit there and as names are getting called, we're just kind of crossing them off the list and having discussions. And Stevie is, like, he's unreal to be able to work for and in the draft too. We have a lot of conversation. We have a lot of dialogue. Obviously, I understand the importance of the draft and bringing in prospects and, top prospects and high-end prospects that, are going to help, the Detroit Red Wings, improve and get to where we want to go. But, you're just sitting there and, especially for that first pick, you're anxious, you're excited. And when it comes up to your name, we sit there and it's one last kind of discussion, debate on where we're at. And it's always been how the list has been, the player that we've selected. It's somebody that we take a lot of pride in and want to bring into the Detroit Red Wing organization. So, that's kind of really how it works. But, Stevie is, he's so intelligent, hockey mind, and it's challenging. And I love being a part of that. I love being able, not only discuss, NHL and NHL players, but, more importantly for my job, prospects on the amateur side and for the draft. And, so I kind of go through the whole thing. And when the season's over, that's when, get a lot of dialogue and conversation with Stevie as we're kind of putting our list together.
How much head shaking do you do, though? Because you have to travel the world to go see these prospects, and they're on your list. And so you might have flown, I don't know, 10 hours to see player A, B, and C. And before the Red Wings have a chance to pick, those players are off the board. And that part of your life that you committed to go seeing those players is for naught. Do you just kind of shrug at that point? Part of the deal,
Well, it's
right?
just, what? It's just part of it, So, I mean, we obviously, know of, probably, where we're going to be picking, and we've had zero luck with the lottery, as everybody
No
knows.
kidding. No kidding.
We zero, we have never moved up, which is absolutely
Crazy.
shocking. And, the one year that we were the worst team in the league, we went from 1 to 4. But with that said, we ended up drafting Lucas Raymond, who, I watched him his underage year, and this kid he was unreal his underage year, and watching him play, his draft year, you're just sitting there and you're thinking, man, if I ever get a chance, to pick Lucas Raymond and bring him into the Detroit Red Wing organization, we're doing that. And the way that it happened, obviously, we went from 1st to 4th. Lafreniere, Byfield, Stützle all went 1, 2, 3, and we ended up getting, to me, just an absolute character,
good, yeah.
superstar player.
Might be the best
with that,
player.
what's
Probably
that,
is. I said probably is the best player of that group right now.
Well, if you ask me, I'm obviously so biased with Ray, and he just continues to get better. Watching him, in training camp and preseason games, he looks more determined, competitive, faster, all the things that you want from a top line player. But so, John, to answer your question, it's, you kind of realize that, that's probably going to happen. Here I am, I've already started, looking at the late 07s and 2008s for the drafts. And, there's going to be some kids that I've seen from August at the Gretzky Holinka to already watching this year that, chances are we're not going to have a chance to get those players. So it's kind of good and it's bad. If we can't get those players, it means we're not a terrible hockey team. And, for us, the later that I make my selection come draft day, the better it is for the Detroit Red Wing organization. I'm all for that. So it's kind of that's the way I look at it and from there, it's more challenging to try to find these players and find these prospects. But, it's rewarding when certainly that you get to do that. And with that said, look at, starting on Thursday night, 3 prospects that I'm, really excited about, are going to have an opportunity to debut in the NHL, and, 2 first rounders in obviously Sandin Pellikka and Brandstad Nygaard. And, for me, somebody that's, myself and our staff is really excited about, Emmett Finney. We took Emmett Finney in the 7th round. I think 203rd overall, I think is what he was. And just his development over the last couple of years in Kamloops. And then he came in right away from the prospect tournament to training camp into the preseason. And, this kid's been the surprise of camp. So those are the things that you take a lot of pride in, watching Emmett his draft years playing on, a wagon out in Kamloops. They were a Memorial Cup favorite team, and he was on the 4th line. And, here he is now at 20 years old, preparing to make his debut for the Detroit Red Wings. So those are fun stories and successful. And you take a lot of pride when you pick someone in the 7th round, and here they are getting ready to make their NHL debut.
Nice. That must obviously we know. But Drapes, I need to ask you this from through your eyes, the overtime goal against Washington. I didn't have one of my best games. Obviously, a couple slipped in by accident. Let's be honest. But 4-4, we're in overtime. I'll never forget Scotty. Tell the whole story of how that goal kind of came, and then the next day what he said to you. Because what a goal that was.
Well, no, it actually started that morning, Oz. I can honestly say that. So sure enough, we're here we are in 1998. We're in game 2 of the Stanley Cup Finals, and we had won game 1, and everything seems to be going well. And I was I wasn't producing offensively. I wasn't scoring, but still Scotty was, obviously face-offs, penalty kill. I matched up against, Bondra on a lot of the nights
Yeah.
and those kind of things. So kind of basically doing what I was doing, but Scotty wanted to point out and he kind of said in a roundabout way, like he always did, Oz's, and kind of said, "Hey, Barry, we have one guy that hasn't scored this whole playoff. This whole playoff. We got one guy that hasn't scored a goal." And I'm just kind of like right there. And I was waiting. Barry just started
Passive
laughing.
aggressive.
Oh,
Yeah.
and then kind of he's surprised. Oh, it's him. It's him. It's Draper. He hasn't scored yet. And, he kind of laughed. So I just kind of looked at Scotty and I said, "You know what?" I go, "Tonight's the night. I'm scoring tonight." And whatever. So kind of walk off pregame skate. You kind of do your whole thing and whatever. So sure enough, we're in, and I've watched a lot of that game. Just, it's on a instant classic on NHL Network. And I had an unbelievable chance in the opening in overtime. I think it was Joe Ricci, right? Was he one of that big left shot D-man for Washington? I had good speed and I kind of came cutting in right to left and I brought it from backhand to forehand and my patented shot that I owned Ozzy on was the low blocker shot.
The low blocker. Yeah.
And I come and I ripped it and it hit Kolzig and he made the save and then they showed the box and Kenny Holland throws his arms up in the air and all that and I was just like and so I knew I had a good chance then. And then the way the goal happened was Igor Shanny and Marty Lapointe had an unreal shift going, big cycle shift, and obviously it was the first overtime, so we had them kind of hemmed in their own end, and Igor came and changed, and I kind of came off and kind of went in and forced a forecheck, and he threw Shanny was there, and I kind of circled up above, and I saw the puck get rimmed, and Marty Lapointe was on the half wall, and he's a right-handed shot. And I kind of came and all of a sudden I kind of hit the hash marks and I was coming back door and Marty zipped the pass over. And sure enough, I was able to, crossbody one time it and beat Kolzig, low to the blocker side and, had a pretty good celebration, dance and whatever. And everyone kind of came to me and all this. So I was just like, obviously, I mean, it's a dream come true. You score a Stanley Cup game winning overtime goal. Incredible, especially at home and in front of our incredible fans at the Joe and whatever. So everyone's kind of going. I remember, Matt kind of came up at the end and kind of gave me a big, bear hug and whatever. And everyone kind of skates off the ice and I'm kind of getting there. And Scotty kind of has a little fist pump. And then sure enough, he looks at me, he goes, who scored? Who scored the goal? And I just kind of looked at him and he had a smile on his face. And I go, "Scotty, I told you this morning. He told you I was getting one tonight. I got it." So, so we kind of had a little laugh at that, but incredible. Obviously, to me, the greatest goal that I scored, an absolute incredible memory. And you know what? It was fun to be able to bail my good buddy Ozzy out of he didn't have a very good one that night, but just like Ozzy does, like he did throughout his career. And it's amazing that, first of all, we were able to get that win. And then the next night in game 3, Ozzy was fantastic and put us up 3-0. So, and then obviously we end up winning, sweeping Washington and going back to back.
How cool will it be for you to have Sergei Fedorov back in Detroit in early January and to see his number raised to the rafters?
Obviously incredible. Sergei was, arguably one of the most talented players that I ever played with. An absolute, he was a physical specimen, watching him train in the gym, the things that he could do on the ice, back then were unreal. Great skater, hockey sense. He could score in so many different ways. He was a threat from the outside. He could get to the net. He could beat you one-on-one. He can make any sort of play you want. Back then you had the ability coast to coast, we were able to sit back and just kind of watch Sergei do his thing. And, an absolute, incredible piece to, us winning 3 Stanley Cups, obviously. So I'm really excited for Sergei. He was a great teammate. He was a great person. As soon as that was announced and knew that it was going to happen, I was able to WhatsApp him. We kind of went back and forth. And, the one thing that Sergei said right away is obviously he's humbled that the Detroit Red Wings are going to hang 91 into the rafters with obviously the other names that are up there, some of his former teammates and, some of the greats of the game and certainly the greats of Detroit. And, he's humbled and honored to be able to do that and excited to see everyone, that's going to be back and come back to celebrate with him, because, those things and they all say it. It's, obviously it's an individual accolade and honor to get their number up there, but it just shows you being part of, great teams and great teammates. And, we were able to be a part of that.
To that point, Keith Gave was on this very podcast, the longtime Detroit Free Press hockey writer, and he made the case that number 33 should be in the rafters as well.
Huh.
Does that surprise you to hear that? And can you even imagine that feeling?
No. I mean, on like for anyone that says that, it's truly an honor and certainly, you talk about being humbled of the mention of my number, going up to the rafters. I couldn't even, think about or comprehend something like that. I was just fortunate to play. I've said it before. I was probably the luckiest grinder, bottom six, glue guy, character guy, however you want to call me or term me, in the history of the game to play here for 18 years and the players that I played with. But I even appreciate you bringing that up and you just thinking of all the greats that, I was able to play with and somebody would think that, my number should go up to the rafters is, it's overwhelming. And I don't think I don't think I deserve that. I think I was part of great teams and I kind of played a role in some great teams, but, we're talking about, the greats of the Detroit Red Wings. And, I look at, Steve Yzerman and Nick Lidstrom and obviously Sergei Fedorov. And, I look at, probably two other guys that are going to go to the rafters and Pavel Datsyuk and Henrik Zetterberg, two incredible teammates that I was able to play with. Like, I'm not in the same sentence as those guys. So I appreciate it. Truly an incredible honor that someone would, especially Keith, he was around our team and around the game a long time. And for him to bring that up is pretty special.
And it only cost us $1 to get you.
It sure did. Yeah.
One
and
damn dollar.
Back. I paid it
I
back.
know you did pay that back, right?
Yeah.
At the ceremony honoring. But did it hurt your feelings when you learned that you were being traded to Detroit for $1 way back when?
First of all, I didn't believe it. Who in the National Hockey League gets traded for $1? I thought it was actually San Jose kind of and Detroit kind of playing a little bit of a joke on me. But the way that the way that story went was in '94. We're in the playoffs, and that was my first opportunity to play playoff hockey. And back then our series went 2 at the Joe. We went 3 out into San Jose, and then obviously we're coming back for game 6 and 7. And I don't know if it was game 3 or game 4, but I ended up being first star. I had a goal and assist, and I'm kind of doing the media scrum after the game, and kind of having a conversation with the media, and they're asking about it, kind of where'd you come from, to all of a sudden you're in the NHL, and you had a goal and an assist, and I was kind of playing pretty good in this series, and so I kind of was answering the questions, and there was one reporter that stuck around a little longer and asked a couple more questions, and he just kind of looked at me and when it was over, he goes, "Thank you, Chris, appreciate your time," and he goes, "Not bad for a kid that was traded for $1." And I said, "Thank you very much," and I kind of started walking away. I was like, "Hold on a sec, what'd that guy just say?" $1. So anyway, so I kind of turned around, I did a quick little U-turn. I was like, "Excuse me," like this. I go, "Can you explain the $1 comment?" And he kind of looked at me and he goes, "You don't know?"
Oh,
and I'm
geez.
like, I go, "I don't know what?" And he goes, you were traded for $1. And I'm like, "No way." He's like, "Yeah." So anyway, so it's kind of like, you're talking about first star, goal and assist, NHL playoffs, traded for $1. Wow, what a night this was. So anyway, so I turned around, I came, and I was just like, man, I got to kind of talk to our PR guy and find out, if this is true. So I came, do you remember who our PR guy was back then, Ozzy?
John Hahn, was it? Was it John?
No, it was before Honor.
Bill Jameson?
Yeah,
Bill
exactly.
Jameson?
Yeah. So I found Bill, and I was like, I I go, I just had the weirdest thing, and I just, if you could clear this up and clean this up for me, I'd really appreciate it. And I said, the guy said afterwards, he said, not bad for a kid traded for $1. Like, it's kind of kidding, right? Like this. And Bill, being like an incredible person, just kind of put his hand on my shoulder. He goes, Chris, we were hoping that you'd never find out, but you were traded for $1. So anyway, so I guess, whatever kind of goes on. And Kenny Holland told the story that basically, when I ended up getting traded from Winnipeg to Detroit, I was basically, going down for depth, but more importantly for a player down in Adirondack. I get called up and I was playing on the 24th, like I said. And so the NHL calls Detroit. You say, if Draper's playing tonight, you got to finalize the deal. I was traded for the old Freddie Charles, the future considerations. And so anyway, Brian Murray calls Mike Smith, who is the GM of Winnipeg, and says, Kris Draper's playing tonight. We have to make a trade. And I guess the story was, Brian, offered up, I think there was 15 or 16 rounds in the draft back then. And he offered up like a 16th round draft pick. And Mike was like, no, it won't last long. We'll just make this $1, make it a financial transaction. We'll call it a deal. So sure enough, it ended up being, the $1, trade for a financial transaction. And here we are, still sitting here after all those years.
the best deal in the history of Detroit sports. They would like to talk to you over at Riverfront Apartments about the microwave with the maggots in it, though. Still, I mean,
that's on Ozzy. It was on his. My name wasn't on the lease, so that's all Ozzy.
It's all me. Oh, boy. That's why you guys are so good. You're able to defer or shed the blame to the other one that was sitting next to you. Right?
Well, as Ozzy and I like to say, we did a lot of deflecting back in the day. Yeah, that was we were both pretty good at that. Yeah.
Oh man, Drapes, thanks for your time. We can't,
Awesome.
it's great to see you. Hopefully our paths will cross soon. And here's to a great Red Wing season coming up.
Yeah, absolutely, guys. I'll tell you, I could sit here and go down memory lane with you guys forever. Oz, we had, man, what a blast that we had throughout our careers, and still an, unbelievable friendship. And
Yeah.
John, same thing. Appreciate all the, and I know it was all positive with me. So thanks, John, for all the coverage over all those years. And we're going to miss you this year for sure. It's certainly not going to be the same. You too, the chemistry that you guys have was incredible. And just being able to sit here and do this was a blast. So I appreciate it, sitting here and talking memory lane and good times and a lot of laughs. And Ozzy, like I said, we had to keep this PG. I think we did. We did a good job in that. And
that was a real concern.
It was a blast.
It was good.
All right. And we were able to deflect any female counterparts that were at the post that night. I thought that was very professionally done by each of you. So although Drapes wasn't there, so
exactly.
he can't speak to that at all.
No.
All right, that's going to do it for this installment of Ozzy and Keats. We thank everybody for listening and watching, and we'll see you next time.
Ozzy and Keats is produced by Zachary Davis and Bill McAllister and proudly distributed by Podcast Nation in Troy, Michigan.